안녕하세요. Good morning. Welcome to EAI. My name is Son-yeol. I am president of EAI and Yonsei University professor. I would like to thank you all for coming to today's conference in Saturday morning. And in that sense, my special thanks to Ambassador Jung Hee of Republic of Korea, Ambassador Mizushima Koichi of Japan, and Ambassador Jeff Robinson of Australia for being here. This conference was conceived and planned actually right after Mr. Trump was elected, second elected. And because it's only 2 months ago, almost every aspects of preparation has been based on a very short notice based. And so in that sense, I'm deeply grateful to today's panelists and keynote speaker for accepting such a short request and make this happen. Australia, Japan, and South Korea are allies of the United States, and so have shared worries and concerns about return of Mr. Trump, which are driven by anticipated acceleration of so-called Trumpism, which encompass both Trump's personal and distinctive leadership style, and at the same time a broader systemic shift in U.S. foreign policy, one that reflects a long-term decline in U.S. hegemony. We might face a leadership deficit or hegemonic deficit in sustaining the existing liberal international order that has served the interest of and welfare of the three countries, actually, for a secure and prosper. So how will it affect the regional order in the Indo-Pacific? And can the deficit be filled by its allies, three allies, collectively? If Trump's vision diverges from the aspirations of Australia, Japan, and South Korea, what can they do? We do. If solidarity among the three countries is achievable, what should be their three countries' shared objectives, and what should we move forward? These are the pressing issues and questions for the key U.S. allies, three countries. So today's Trilateral Conference aims to identify critical challenges and, more importantly, develop strategies for fostering trilateral cooperation in the Indo-Pacific to navigate the shifting dynamics of U.S. foreign policy and strengthen three countries' partnership to meet the shared goals. So I look forward to a great conversation today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Chairman Hayoung-san and President Son-yeol of East Asia Institute, Excellencies, Ambassador Robinson and Ambassador Mitsushima, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to address this esteemed group of experts from Korea, Australia, and Japan with the inauguration of President Trump just on the horizon. The inaugural Australia-Japan-ROK Track 1.5 Trilateral Dialogue, organized last June by the United States Studies Center, set the stage for formalizing and structuring meaningful exchange amongst ourselves. I believe continuing robust discussions on the ROK-Australia-Japan Trilateral Cooperation on many levels is absolutely essential and beneficial. In this regard, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the East Asia Institute for convening this timely and thought-provoking discussion today. As key U.S. allies, our three countries have much to deliberate concerning the evolving dynamics of the Indo-Pacific and America's role herein. I also wish to express my deep appreciation to the EAI for its unwavering support in the implementation of Korea's Indo-Pacific strategy. We strongly believe in the importance of solidarity among like-minded countries to uphold and reinforce a rules-based international order in our region. To this end, we're dedicated to cultivating and leveraging close partnerships founded on shared values and strategic interests. In recent years, Korea has made significant strides in strengthening trilateral cooperation, first with Japan and the United States. Key milestones such as establishment of a trilateral secretariat underscore our commitment to fostering sustainable collaboration. Korea is also actively expanding its diplomatic network beyond the ROK-US-Japan framework to diversify strategic communication channels and strengthen regional engagement. Among these emerging cooperative frameworks, the trilateral partnership between Korea, Australia, and Japan stands out as a cornerstone of strategic importance. This trilateral framework has made significant progress within a relatively short period of time. Initiatives such as defense ministers' meetings have been launched, and last year alone, we have managed to hold 2 Indo-Pacific dialogues. As like-minded partners across a wide spectrum, our trilateral partnership has a solid foundation underpinned by our shared vision for a peaceful, prosperous, free, and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Equally important, our collaboration reflects a convergence of many priorities, ranging from maritime security to climate action to sustainable development. Distinguished guests, as we anticipate the incoming Trump administration's approach to the Indo-Pacific, it is crucial to consider the potential for significant recalibration of U.S. strategy in the region. The new administration is expected to pursue a more assertive and transactional approach, particularly in its dealings with China. We may see a renewed focus on bilateral trade negotiations and a potential escalation of tariffs, which could reshape our regional economic dynamics. While the core objectives of maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific may persist, the methods and priorities could shift substantially. There may be increased pressure on allies to shoulder more of the financial burden for regional security. This recalibration could present both challenges and opportunities for our trilateral cooperation, which requires us to adapt our strategies and potentially take on more proactive roles in shaping regional security and economic architectures. What is clear is that independent of the level of U.S. engagement in the region, our 3 countries must continue to advocate for principles and values that we share while generating added value for our region through deeper collaboration across various fields. By aligning our efforts effectively, Korea, Australia, and Japan can play a pivotal role in addressing regional priorities, particularly those affecting Southeast Asia and Pacific Island nations. As discussed during our previous Indo-Pacific dialogues, we are well positioned to advance common interests in areas such as maritime security, climate change, and sustainable development. For instance, we co-hosted the first ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific seminar on maritime cooperation in 2023. Its second iteration is scheduled for next month. We very much appreciate Australia's initiative to co-host these seminars and believe that by coordinating our respective initiatives more closely, we can unlock greater synergies. In this sense, today's conference offers a critical opportunity to shape innovative regional cooperation among like-minded nations in a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. I believe the United States, our ally and an indispensable player in shaping Indo-Pacific dynamics, would also gain valuable insights from viewing the region through our Australia-Japan-ROK trilateral lens. Joined today by prominent experts from all 3 countries, I look forward to candid and frank exchanges that will contribute meaningfully towards shaping a prosperous future for our region. Thank you.
I am Mizushima Koichi, Ambassador of Japan to Korea. It is a privilege to speak at this seminar on trilateral cooperation among Japan, Korea, and Australia under the initiative of Chairman of EAI, Hayon-son, and Dr. Son Yo, Director of the East Asia Institute. I'm also delighted that I'm here together with Australian Ambassador Jeff Robinson and Korean Special Representative on Indo-Pacific Ambassador Chung Yui-hye. With the inauguration of US President Trump on January 20, just around the corner, I wondered at the beginning the seminar's original theme, envisioning the Indo-Pacific without America? Question mark. So that may appear somewhat provocative. However, I interpret this original title as a strong affirmation that the Indo-Pacific region must neither envision nor function without the presence of the United States. I'm confident that today's panelists share this perspective. The international environment surrounding us never allows us to create space for without the United States in terms of security as well as economy in this region. From January 13 to 14, earlier this week, Japan's Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi visited Korea for the first bilateral visit by a Japanese foreign minister in nearly 7 years. During his visit, he paid his respects at the Seoul National Cemetery and was engaged in meaningful discussions, including a Japan-Korean foreign ministers meeting and meetings with the acting president and the Speaker of the Korean National Assembly. In this dialogue with Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-il, both ministers reaffirmed the importance of strengthening future-oriented cooperation between Japan and Korea. They also reached a consensus on working proactively on Japan-ROK-US Trilateral Cooperation, not only in addressing North Korea, but also in tackling challenges related to the Indo-Pacific and economic security. While Korea faces considerable challenges, the visit underscored the unchanging importance of Japan-Korea relations and sent a positive message in this regard. Japan, Korea, and Australia share much in common as democratic nations in Asia, allies of the United States, and are committed to fundamental principles and values. In terms of trade relations, in 2023, Korea was Japan's third largest export destination, following the United States and China, while Australia ranked 10th. On the import side, Australia was Japan's third largest source after China and the US, and Korea ranked 7th. Building on these robust political and economic ties, trilateral dialogues were held last year in Canberra in June and Seoul in December. These discussions addressed maritime security, development cooperation, regional issues, and relations with the Global South. Additionally, a trilateral defense ministers meeting took place in Singapore in June. Such unilateral frameworks are crucial for upholding and strengthening a free and open international order based on the rule of law, as well as for promoting peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Japan remains committed to actively advancing this agenda. While democracy may seem less efficient than authoritarian systems in the short term, it is indispensable for upholding values such as diversity, inclusiveness, and individual freedoms values that are essential for lasting peace and prosperity. So protecting democracy is a core priority of our diplomacy. Equally, mutually beneficial economic relationships are the foundation of stable international relations. It is essential to maintain and expand a free, fair, and rule-based economic order. Furthermore, addressing economic coercion, one of the major diplomatic challenges of recent years, requires close collaboration between the public and private sectors, including the collection of credible evidence. The Russia's invasion of Ukraine has underscored the interconnection of security in Europe and Asia. Japan has consistently emphasized the urgency of the situation, warning that today's Ukraine could be tomorrow's East Asia. Allied nations such as the US, Japan, Korea, and Australia must remain steadfast in the commitment to peace, stability, and economic security in the Indo-Pacific region. At the same time, it is vital to communicate this commitment effectively to the global community, including the Global South. As part of this effort, Japan will continue to advocate for and strengthen multilateral networks such as mini-lateral frameworks like cooperation between Japan, Korea, and Australia. In closing, in today's seminar, I look forward to candid and fruitful discussions among leading scholars in this region on the wide range of issues such as security, trade, and technology. I again thank you for the strong leadership of the EI and Dr. Sang-yu to hold today's seminar. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
내빈 여러분 안녕하십니까? Good morning, everyone. It's really my pleasure to be here. Congratulations indeed to the East Asia Institute and Professor Son Yeol for hosting this really important event. I'm also honoured, of course, to be here with Special Representative Chong Wi-hye Nim, Ambassador Mizushima, somebody I've come to see as a very good, close colleague and friend. I'd also, of course, like to thank the prominent academics, Melissa and others who I haven't met Thomas yet, for travelling here from Australia and Japan for this timely conference, and of course our Korean hosts. I'm really delighted that the East Asia Institute is taking the lead in maintaining the momentum of this emerging trilateral consultative partnership. Following the first trilateral 1.5-track dialogue hosted by the United States Study Centre in Australia in June last year. As you may be aware, officials from the 3 foreign ministries took advantage of that occasion to hold an inaugural Indo-Pacific dialogue in Canberra. And I'm pleased to report we held a second meeting here in Seoul in December. Meanwhile, we're seeing things like the defence ministers from Korea, Japan and Australia met trilaterally in the margins of last year's Shangri-La dialogue. And I, for one, am really enthusiastic about continuing these processes. It's already clear this trilateral has potential to complement the more established US, Japan, Korea, US, Japan, Australia formats. Well, I don't want to overuse the term lattice work. I will note that we are 3 like-minded democratic middle powers that constitute the linchpins of the US alliance in the Indo-Pacific region. We bring complementary geographic perspectives. We have deep strategic and economic networks with each other, but also through other parts of the region, through Southeast Asia and in the Pacific. And most importantly, we have fundamentally aligned strategic interests in a peaceful, stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific region, characterised by strategic balance, where no country dominates or is dominated, and where disputes are resolved on the basis of rules, norms, and international law rather than power and size. Now, Australian Foreign Minister Wong, who visited Korea in July last year, she makes the point that middle powers like ours aren't just bystanders to the actions of the major powers. Our region is being reshaped, and that our job is to influence that reshaping. And to do that, countries with shared interests like ours, we have to work together. The period of strategic competition we are facing poses very difficult problems and choices for middle powers. In Australia's view, the answer is not to talk about taking sides. Our interests demand that we engage with all major powers. But nor is it to chart some careful middle path as if we have no stake in the direction of this strategic competition. Instead, it's to be very clear about who we are, about our national interests and values, and about what this means for the kind of region we inhabit and the kind of region I just described. We have a shared stake in the future directions of our region. Now, the original title of this conference was, I think, deliberately provocative. In Australia, perhaps more than in Japan and Korea, we have some strategic commentators who, again, perhaps deliberately provocative, predict not only declining relative US influence, but wholesale withdrawal of the US from the region. From the Australian government's perspective, the question is not whether the US will be present, but rather the character and nature of its engagement and leadership, and the role that we can play as US allies in helping shape that engagement in the long-term interests of the region and of the United States itself. Some may recall that Australia issued a foreign policy white paper in 2017, quite a few years ago. It was a bold decision at that time to issue a long-term strategic outlook at such a time of uncertainty and change, including year one of the first Trump administration. But the fundamental strategic judgments in that white paper have aged remarkably well. One of these read as follows. So this is a quote. The Australian government judges that the United States' long-term interests will anchor its economic and security engagement in the Indo-Pacific. Its major Pacific alliances with Japan, the Republic of Korea, and Australia will remain strong. Most regional countries, including Australia, clearly consider a significant US role in the Indo-Pacific as a stabilising influence. Now, President Trump ran on a platform of change, and we would be unwise to expect anything other than change. But the early signals from the incoming administration are of a continued commitment to the Indo-Pacific region. So the likely next US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, in his confirmation hearings, actually spoke very strongly about the continuing importance, for example, of the AUKUS partnership. Strategic competition with China will remain a hallmark of US foreign policy. And managing that competition will require a strong US diplomatic, military, and economic footprint in this region, including a network of alliances that bolster deterrence. The alliance between Australia and the United States is just one thread of that network, and it's one that's actually never been stronger or more important. So, as Australian Ambassador to Korea, I'm always really pleased to see our nations come together, including to build a shared understanding of the challenges our region is facing and to identify ways that work together. And despite the title of this discussion, we always need to keep in mind the shared challenges that all three of our countries, irrespective of whether there was a change of administration in Washington or not, already face from other players in the region. I would also add, at this particular time, as we see how the political situation in Korea evolves, events such as this and the role of institutions such as the EAI are more important than ever to help inform and guide future Korean policy. Similar kind of things as we spoke are happening in Australia and in Japan, I'm sure. This is an extraordinarily timely meeting. I really congratulate the leadership and the organisers of this conference. It is really important that we play our role as commentators, informed commentators, to help make sure that future policy directions are appropriate to our shared interests. 감사합니다.
It is my great pleasure to deliver the keynote address for the EAAI's Trilateral Conference on ROK-Japan-Australia Cooperation in the context of Trump 2.0. We are witnessing a profound leadership crisis at the global, regional, and national levels. Globally, the U.S.-China relationship, a cornerstone of the global order, has faced significant challenges in managing competition, conflict over the past several years. With the return of President Trump and his emphasis on America first, this relationship appears to be transitioning toward a more cautious, transactional form of conflict. However, the risks of strategic deterioration in U.S.-China relations are substantial, particularly in the context of nuclear AI nexus. Moreover, the global economic order is increasingly fragmented, with Trump's version of decoupling from China further exacerbating this trend. These developments underscore the rapid decline in the effectiveness of global leadership. Regionally, the Indo-Pacific has become the focal point of strategic competition between the United States and China. Trump's Indo-Pacific strategy is expected to prioritize denying China's hegemonic ambitions in the region as part of its goal to make America great again. This approach will likely rely on transactional partnership with coalition members that offer cost-effective contributions. In response, China is expected to advance counter strategies aimed at expanding its regional influence in pursuit of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. While direct confrontation between the two powers may not occur, their competition to expand regional influence will be intense and far-reaching. Nationally, the leadership crisis is deeply evident on the Korean Peninsula. North Korea is pursuing a triple survival strategy, which seeks to bolster domestic capability through nuclear and economic development, increase international leverage by supporting Russia in Ukraine, and deepen antagonism with South Korea. However, the strategy faces mounting challenges. The impracticality of the Pyongyang policy, simultaneously pursuing economic and nuclear advances, limited support from Russia due to its constrained capacities, and the negative consequences of worsening inter-Korea relations. For the past 80 years, Since its liberation, South Korea has achieved extraordinary progress in nation buildings, marked by rapid industrialization and democratization. Yet the country now confronts a leadership crisis at the critical civilizational turning point, requiring innovative approaches to the public good, including the vision of building a 21st century civilization states. To address the current triple crisis in global, regional, and national leadership, the cooperations among ROK, Japan, and Australia is of critical importance. Globally, the three middle powers must lead the way in establishing competitive symbiosis as a new standard of civilization for the 21st century, aimed at mitigating catastrophic risks in an era of AI-driven technological revolutions. This requires fostering a complex leadership model of co-governance capable of managing and regulating peaceful, prosperous, ecological, cultural, and technological interdependencies. Regionally, the evolution of the Indo-Pacific strategy must be guided by future-oriented discussions centered on peace, prosperity, technological innovation, and regional symbiosis. ROK, Japan, and Australia must also engage the United States to take a leading role in implementing this new framework while exploring forward-looking approaches to encourage an open and reform-oriented China. Nationally, addressing the leadership crisis requires defining new public goals for the state building that align with the demands of the 21st century civilization. South Korea, in particular, must navigate escalating partisan polarization and transcend factional diplomacy to tackle its triple diplomatic challenge: deepening ROK-US Japan cooperation, fostering regional collaboration in the Indo-Pacific, and addressing the North Korean nuclear issues. This can be achieved through a postmodern, complex state framework that aligns with contemporary global standards. Additionally, ROK must explore innovative strategy to support North Korea in transitioning toward a sustainable and non-nuclear survival framework in collaboration with other stakeholders. The success of trilateral cooperation will ultimately hinge on the transformation of leadership in ROK, Japan, and Australia, ensuring it meets the new standard of civilization required for the 21st century. I am confident that today's dialogue will serve as a meaningful step toward addressing the triple leadership crisis and unlocking opportunities for a more stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific future. Thank you.